Have you noticed that you're avoiding people more and more as you get older? You aren't angry or bitter, and you're not out to hurt anyone. Instead, you find that silence often feels better than company. The idea of making conversation or just being around others now seems heavier than it used to be. There's a reason for this, and it isn't just about aging. It's about gaining clarity, taking care of your emotional energy, and finally learning what truly fills you up and what only leaves you feeling drained. In this video, we are going to explore 6 honest reasons why you might be keeping your distance from people, even if you used to be more social, available, or open. These reasons are not signs of weakness. They are born from your wisdom, the challenges you've faced, and the way your spirit has gently reshaped your priority. As you get older, you realize that there's less time for anything that feels empty, forced, or fake. Every phone call, every visit, every gathering asks something of you, and if the return isn't meaningful, you feel it right away. It isn't that you dislike people. You've simply learned how much it costs to engage deeply, and you no longer want to pay that cost for interactions that leave you feeling worse than before. I remember a man named Frank who was 82 and used to host monthly dinners with old friends. Over time, he noticed that he wasn't tired from cooking or cleaning, but from having to keep his energy up when no one noticed how drained he felt. Eventually, he stopped hosting, not because he didn't love his friends, but because he realized he needed to reserve his energy for things that filled him instead of emptying him. With age comes an awareness of time that isn't fearful, but sacred. Every hour of the day becomes something to guard. If a conversation doesn't offer connection or a gathering leaves you feeling flat, you no longer pretend it was worth it. You listen to your inner fatigue, trust your need for quiet, and stop explaining why you're avoiding people. Sometimes it's not about avoiding conflict, it's about not depleting yourself. Your nervous system is already busy healing and managing the changes that come with age, so even a simple interaction can be too much if it isn't filled with genuine care. Once you've experienced the peace of solitude, it becomes harder to step back into noise that doesn't serve you. You're not being antisocial, you're being honest with yourself. You've earned the right to spend your emotional energy on things and people who truly offer something real in return. Another reason might be that you've outgrown the roles and expectations that others have placed on you over the years. Perhaps you were always the listener, the helper, or the one who held everything together in your family. But now, those roles feel heavier than they once did. Continuing to play them out of a sense of obligation feels less like love and more like losing parts of yourself. People might still see you as the person you were 10 or 20 years ago, but you know deep down that you are not that person anymore. I once knew a woman named Marlene who was 77 and had spent her whole life being the go-to person for her family. Everyone would come to her with their problems, always expecting an answer, a hot meal, or a bed to sleep on. After a serious health scare and a time of deep thought, she realized that she didn't want to be the emotional caretaker any longer. She wanted peace and stillness. When she started saying no, the people around her couldn't understand, and she even faced teasing for not being as involved. Yet, deep down, she knew she was simply being true to herself. It wasn't about rejecting others, it was about not allowing others to see you through an outdated lens. When you change, you deserve relationships that accept you as you are now, not as you were. And if those relationships aren't there, you sometimes choose the comfort of distance over the pain of pretending. There comes a time when silence feels more nourishing than small talk. There was once a point when you craved noise and felt the need to fill every quiet moment with conversation. But now you see silence for what it is, a clear space where you can hear your own thoughts and feel your presence without interruption. What once may have felt like loneliness now feels like clarity, a chance to just be. In the past, you might have gone to gatherings out of habit, answered every phone call just to be polite, or kept up appearances even when conversations felt empty. But now you understand that small talk about the weather, the news, or a neighbor's backyard is like static that adds little value to your day. You crave deeper conversations that really matter, or sometimes prefer not talking at all. I recall a man named Albert who was 81 and mentioned that he stopped going to his weekly coffee group not because he disliked the people, but because those conversations never went beyond shallow pleasantries. They left him more drained than uplifted. So he started walking alone near the lake, not to isolate himself, but to listen, to reconnect with what truly mattered. Avoiding people in this way is not about missing connection. It's about seeking a rest that comes from quiet, genuine communication. Another clear reason you might be keeping your distance is that you have learned to quickly sense when others might have hidden agendas. As you grow older, you become more aware of subtle behaviors and notice when words don't match actions. It isn't about being paranoid, it's about recognizing patterns. You've sat through many conversations, seen enough actions, and noticed when things just didn't add up. In the past, you might have given people the benefit of the doubt, making excuses for their off moments or convincing yourself that you were just being too sensitive. Now, you trust your instincts. If someone flatters too quickly, gossips too easily, or always seems to need something from you, you quietly step back. I once met a woman named Elaine, who was 79. She shared that she used to ignore the red flags because she didn't want to seem rude, but over time she realized that being too polite had cost her more peace than any confrontation ever could. So whenever she sensed even a hint of drama or manipulation, she simply removed herself from the situation without making a big scene. This wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about preserving her well-being. With years of experience behind you, you no longer confuse a smile with trust or a friendly word with safety. Instead, you avoid those situations that could drain your energy and your heart. Another reason comes from the lingering effects of past betrayals. Sometimes, the reason you distance yourself isn't about your current relationships at all. It's about old wounds. Perhaps there was a friend who vanished when you needed support, or a family member who judged you when you were at your lowest, or even someone you once trusted deeply who broke that trust without a second thought. Even if you have forgiven these people on the surface, a part of you still remembers the hurt. These memories teach you where not to step, what not to say, and whom not to expect too much from. I remember a man named Charles who was 84, and he explained that he wasn't bitter about the past. Instead, he simply stopped testing whether someone would show up for him. Over the years, the repeated disappointments taught him that peace wasn't found in giving second chances. It was found in choosing to be alone rather than risking more hurt. So when people see that you are keeping your distance, they might not know about the nights you spent wondering why someone never called, or the quiet moments when trust slowly faded away. They see the space you've created and might think you're cold, but really, you're simply protecting yourself by setting stronger boundaries. The final reason comes from finding fulfillment in your own company. There comes a time in life when being alone doesn't feel like isolation at all. It feels like liberation. When you were younger, being alone might have made you feel anxious or as though you were missing out. Now, solitude means freedom. It means you can set your own schedule, wake up when you want, eat when you want, think your own thoughts without interruption, and follow your own pace without the pressure of fitting into others' expectations. Instead of dreading weekends when no one calls, you've learned to fill your time with activities that bring you joy. Reading by the window, watching birds in the morning, or writing letters you never send. I recall a woman named Frances, who was 80, who once dreaded the quiet weekends until she discovered that her own company was a source of comfort and wholeness. You are not avoiding people because you're lonely, but because you've chosen to nurture yourself. You've learned that solitude is not emptiness. It's a garden where your thoughts, your peace, your body, and your memories can grow without being stifled by the expectations of others. In the end, choosing solitude isn't a sign that anything is wrong with you. Instead, it might be the clearest sign that you are finally coming home to yourself. Every reason we have talked about, whether it is protecting your energy, leaving behind old roles, craving peace over noise, noticing hidden agendas, healing from past betrayals, or finding deep fulfillment in your own company, is not about withdrawing from life. It's about honoring who you are now. You haven't given up on people. You've simply stopped sacrificing your well-being to meet the expectations of those who refuse to meet you where you are. You are no longer mistaking busyness for connection, and you understand that being selective is not the same as being distant. It's a deliberate choice to protect your peace. To those watching, I invite you to share your thoughts. If you find these insights helpful, please comment with the number that relates to you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Aging with Calm and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue making meaningful content that informs and inspires. Remember, you don't need to explain the boundaries you've set. For those who truly understand, you won't require an explanation. And those who don't, maybe they were only meant to know an earlier version of you. In the end, if your circle has grown smaller, if your tolerance is lower, or if your desire to engage has become quieter, know that it's not because you're broken, it's because you're awake. And that awakening will guide you toward a kind of peace that doesn't depend on the constant presence of others. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to listen to these thoughts. Your journey to protecting your peace is important, and every choice you make is a step toward a fuller, more honest life.